to figure out these games, because PS2 was my first major system and I played so many games. So with that, I'm going to say that I'm going to add a couple of special games that almost made my top 5 at the end, right before the first choice. But without further ado, let's get to Whitey's top 5 PS2 games of all time. Starting this list off with the God of War himself, God of War 2. This game was my action game of that generation, period. Don't get me wrong, I loved Onimusha, I loved Devil May Cry 1 and 3, fuck 2, and I liked Legacy of Kain, so many more great action games that generation. However, the second I placed this game into my console, I just couldn't stop playing. The epicness was insane. The raw insanity of Kratos himself and the feeling of being a god, it just wouldn't stop. The way you would crush bosses with your bare fist made me cringe yet smile. And it's one of the rare games that had so much style, and I loved it that much more for it. Probably the biggest surprise ever to me was the Digital Devil Saga Part 1. Don't get me wrong, Part 2 is actually probably even better than Part 1, I just never got a chance to play it. My PS2 broke right before I finished, or actually right after I finished the very first part of this saga, so I didn't get to actually play it. And don't even get me wrong, Shin Megami is always a hit or miss for me. Some of the games I love, some I can care less about. However, I won't even lie, Digital Devil Saga grabbed me from the beginning and it just didn't let go. I saw only the positives when I played this one, with its unique art, difficult gameplay, and actually a really dark story and a mature story. It was easily one of my favorite PS2 games of all time. Yeah, you know we're going to hit up Final Fantasy 12. There's only 2 Final Fantasies this generation, and most of them, one of them, is on the list of the top 5 PS2 games of all time, and most people would choose 10. Good for you. Final Fantasy 12 was just, well, damn. Some people are just going to keep flipping me off for this one. I don't care. Yeah, it's not only my favorite Final Fantasy video game, but it's easily my top 5 PS2 games of all time. It was just an amazing mix of this action adventure with so much content, something sorely missing from the Final Fantasy games nowadays, and the story was different and maybe not as well told as the previous ones, but that atmosphere, the graphics, the combat, and the content more than made up for it, and I dove at least 150 hours into this bad boy. You knew a Grand Theft Auto was going to be on here. Actually, it's kind of weird. Believe me, if you told me when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out that one of those games that would come out after would be one of my favorite games of all time, I'd laugh at you. Because I liked 3 and I thought Vice City was okay, but I really never understood the 9s and 10s and all the love it got. Both were like really fun story-wise, but I can never just get hooked, and I never liked the characters, and it just felt like it lacked a certain flair. And then San Andreas arrived, and it just had this great amount of effort put into it, with RPG features, a wonderful city to explore, gang life that made the story so much more interesting, a killer soundtrack, and San Andreas is just, come on, one of easily the best games of I ever played my entire life, and definitely deserves to be on the top 5 games of PS2. Give it to Persona 4. There's not a game on this list right now that I invested more hours into than Persona 4. I played this game so many freaking hours. I believe I was at the 300 hour mark when combining both my game files. I placed another 60 to 80 hours into the Vita version. I replayed it twice, and I'll replay it again if they ever remastered it on the PS2. It's just this wonderful mix of Sims and Mystery Case and an anime, and it's just a blend that never ceases to amaze me, and giving me this mature and dark anime type story on top of kind of having these light and humorous situations. I mean, this game was such a unique twist. I just couldn't help but love it, and I'm gonna be honest, forget just the PS2, it stands as one of my personally favorite games of my entire life, and is easily the best PS2 game I've ever played. Now, I know a lot of people on here who are watching this, obviously your list is vastly different than mine, but that's what makes this so fun. So I would love to see you list your top 5 PS2 games, and don't be afraid to put games that nobody else likes. I mean, if you have Devil May Cry 2 on your list, well, you're just simply fucking insane. But if you do, I want to see it on your list because I want to laugh at you. Just kidding. No, really, I will. But, no, I want to see your list. I don't care what game it is. I want to see your top 5 PS2 games of all time. And do not be ashamed of it. Please, no fighting, people. If you don't like that game or I don't like this game, let's not get into the little quibble-bibble arguments. But please, people, let's be real. You better not have Devil May Cry 2 on your list. Whitey out.